A bit about this topic, and I only gave a couple of quotes, and the comment that I got was, well, you kind of cherry-picked from the founders, and that's not really what they all believed. You just picked out a couple. So we're going to take a look at that tonight. And you are tonight the court of public opinion. Okay? You are the jury. You're going to make a determination. I'm going to call witnesses, and you are going to make the decision on the founders' intent. Here's the basic question. What is required in order to ensure good government, political prosperity, and national well-being? So what is required to ensure good government, political prosperity, and national well-being? Before we get into, we need to take a look at definition of terms so we understand what we mean by the words that we use. Politics. Now, unless you're familiar with the 1828 definition of politics, you may be surprised by what it is. It's as defined in 1828 in the 1828 Webster's Dictionary, the science of government is what politics is. That part of ethics which consists in the regulation and government of a nation or state for the preservation of its safety, peace, and prosperity, comprehending the defense of its existence and rights against foreign control or conquest, the augmentation of its strength and resources, and protection of its citizens in their rights. Take note of this part. With the preservation and improvement of their morals. That was the 1828 definition of politics. I don't think that the same definition applies today because most of politics doesn't have anything to do with the preservation and improvement of morals. The current version or definition of politics from the Merriam-Webster's Collegiate Dictionary, the 11th edition, is the art or science of government. So that part's pretty much the same. The art or science concerned with guiding or influencing governmental policy, or the art or science concerned with winning and holding control over government. So there's been kind of a shift in the definition of that word over time. Then the other term is religion. And in 1828, in its most comprehensive sense, includes a belief in the being and perfections of God, in the revelation of His will to man, in man's obligation to obey His commands, in a state of reward and punishment, and in man's accountableness to God, for the practice of moral duties without a divine, didn't get that right, without a belief in a divine lawgiver, and without reference to His will or commands, is not religion. So atheism, technically, according to that definition, is not a religion. The loosest definition that they had was any system of faith and worship. But in general, when the founders were talking about religion, I believe it's that first definition that they were referencing. Current definition, there were multiple versions of it. These seem to be the more predominant or best ones. The service and worship of God or the supernatural, commitment or devotion to religious faith or observance. I think there's some political correctness involved in that definition, which is kind of watered down and broader. And then a cause, principle, or system of beliefs held to with an ardor and faith. So that last one can be almost anything. Okay, for my first witness, I call George Washington, our first president. What did he have to say about this? He said, or wrote, "Of all the dispositions and habits which lead to political prosperity, religion and morality are indispensable supports. You can't do it without them. In vain would that man claim the tribute of patriotism who should labor to subvert these great pillars of human happiness." According to George Washington, there are a number of folks running around in our country that could not claim the title of patriot. His other comment that's included here, true religion affords to government its surest support. So that's what our first president had to say about it. Then we call, as our second witness, John Adams, our second president. He said, or wrote, "It is religion and morality alone which can establish the principles upon which freedom can securely stand." Freedom is inextricably associated with religion and morality. Religion and virtue are the only foundations of republicanism and of all free governments. In other words, if you try to build it on some other foundation other than religion and virtue, you end up with those godless societies with complete government control. For my next witness, I call John Quincy Adams, our sixth president. Anybody know that he was elected to the House of Representatives after being president?
Yes.
3 points of doctrine, the belief of which forms the foundation of all morality. So 3 points of doctrine. The first is the existence of God. The second is the immortality of the human soul. And the third is a future state of rewards and punishments. Suppose it is possible for a man to disbelieve either of these articles of faith, and that man will have no conscience. He will have no other law than that of the tiger or the shark. The laws of man may bind him in chains or put him to death, but they can never make him wise, virtuous, or happy. Just go back there. Suppose it's possible for a man to disbelieve either of these articles of faith. He wasn't sure maybe that it was possible. I guess he was thinking maybe it was possible, but today it's almost prevalent. And when you do that, you have no conscience. I mean, how else can people support the killing of innocent babies called abortion, and even go to the extent of, if they're born alive and they botch the abortion process, that it's okay then to kill them after they're born alive? How can you have a conscience and do that? I just don't understand. For our next witness, we call Samuel Adams, one of the signers of the Declaration and leaders of the Boston Tea Party. He would probably fit in with us. Religion and good morals are the only solid foundations of public liberty and happiness. Neither the wisest constitution nor the wisest laws will secure the liberty and happiness of a people whose manners are universally corrupt.